Hi, I'm Ross Tayler, your host and guide for Sacred Sundays, a space to slow down, tune in, and return to what's sacred within and around you. I'm also a life coach who supports empaths and sensitive souls, guiding them on the journey back to self-acceptance and inner alignment. My passion is connecting with like-minded souls, and these conversations are part of fulfilling my purpose and serve to deepen our collective exploration of what it means to live in connection with the sacred. Some weeks you'll hear a sound-based offering to open the space, other times we'll simply begin in conversation. However it unfolds, this is an invitation into presence, connection, and the beauty of the unseen. If you enjoy these conversations, please subscribe, rate, and share so others can find their way here. So pour a cup of tea, settle in, and let's begin. Today on Sacred Sundays, our guest is Marieke Leliveld. Marieke is a quantum energy healer, alchemist, and multidimensional intuitive dedicated to awakening the innate intelligence of body, mind, and spirit. A certified quantum touch and Jikiden Reiki practitioner, she supports healing for people, children, and animals, including intuitive animal communication. Through her work, including the ICU Academy for Children, Marieke nurtures intuitive, emotional, and energetic development, creating safe, transformative spaces where all can reconnect with their true selves, deepen energetic awareness, and align with their highest potential. Marieke, so happy to have you here with us today.
I'm very happy to be here with you as well. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Excellent. I look forward to our conversation.
Me as well. Thank you.
So Marieke is going to begin by guiding us through a mini quantum journey.
Beautiful. I want to invite everyone to make themselves comfortable and just take a nice deep breath here. I would love to offer a couple of moments here where we can breathe into spaciousness, where we can feel into the present moment. And just let everything rest for the next, let's say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I want to invite you to take a nice deep breath and visualizing that breath rising all the way to your top of your crown. And on the exhalation, just letting that breath release like a beautiful waterfall running down your back body, all the way back down to your feet. And just taking a moment to get in touch with your breath, with the spaciousness of your breath. Feeling into that volume, that beautiful life force energy. And feeling into what does your breath mean for you? What does your breath, how does it move your energy? How does it amplify? And even how does it hold your energy? So continue to visualize your breath rising like steam rising all the way to the top of your crown, even just a little bit above your crown. And then when you're ready to exhale, let your breath release out of your back body, creating the spaciousness, the release, and starting to feel your breath releasing out of the bottoms of your feet. You can do this on your own time, your own comfort, just letting that wave where there's no beginning, no end within your breath, but there's a moment of a still point at the top of your inhalation. There's a moment of a still point at the bottom of your exhalation. And getting in touch with that still point at the top. Maybe even inhaling a little bit more. And then fully exhaling, releasing your breath down your back body all the way down to your feet. And feeling into that still point at the bottom of your breath. And maybe even exhaling a little bit further. Really emptying out your lungs and then beautifully inviting a full inhalation. So making your inhalation nice and active and making your exhalation almost passive where you just let it go. And then over time, once you feel that beautiful wave, we can gently start to expand some spaciousness underneath your rib cage, feeling into the spaciousness of the front of your body, the mid part, the back of your body, and just acknowledging how you feel, how your breath moves, and maybe where you even notice a little bit of tension, and allowing that tension also to be there, allowing all what you notice, experience, feel to be held within your breath, to be held within the embrace of your consciousness, and slowly letting your breath be painted with a beautiful color of white light. So visualizing white light, letting that breath beautifully move through your body as if you're painting the inside of your physical form. And then on your exhalation, let that beautiful white light sink back down to your feet. And as you exhale outwards, and as you exhale down to your feet, feeling into the earth, feeling into this beautiful planet that supports you, that holds you. And feel that you can exhale your breath all the way into the core of the earth. So letting your breath release out of the bottoms of your feet, and feeling how deeply can you let your breath sink into the earth. Feeling into the magnetic force fields. Maybe you want to visualize lava flow. And feeling into the core of the earth, into your relationship with this planet. And letting your energy, your breath, connect, release, as well as align. And as soon as you feel connection, allow your breath to be pulled up from your feet into your heart space. Just breathing into your heart. Letting everything be what it is for this moment. Feeling your beautiful body, your emotional energy field, your mental energy field, as well as your spiritual energy field. Resting, being, as well as naturally calibrating. And your breath beautifully circulates. There's a rising and a beautiful exhale in flow. And I'd like you to breathe this beautiful frequency of violet into your heart space. Visualizing violet, and then taking a beautiful breath of violet into your heart as if you're gifting this frequency to yourself. And then exhaling outwards into your auric field. And we will do this with a couple of colors of well-being. Those frequencies lie within every cell of your body. And they also radiate, resonate within your entire auric field. So we're already breathing with white light. Then we took a beautiful breath with violet. And I want to invite you to take a beautiful breath with indigo blue. And breathing indigo blue into your physical body. And then exhaling outwards into your auric field. Feeling, seeing, and knowing that your breath can release out of your back body, the sides, the front, above your crown and below your feet. And feeling into the spaciousness outside of your physical body. Feeling about 2 meters, 6 feet in every direction. And feeling that is all your space to take in. And I want to invite you to breathe with copper. Visualizing sparkling copper light. Connecting your breath with this beautiful visualization. And letting your breath carry the wave of copper throughout your entire system, from physical into your auric field. We're going to breathe from copper into silver. And as we breathe with silver, breathing through your heart space, And letting silver move through your heart and flow outwards like a beautiful flow, like water. Incredibly powerful, but also gentle. And I want to invite you to breathe with the frequency of golden light. I want to invite you to breathe with a translucent blanket of golden light wrapping around you, around your physical body and around your auric field. And as soon as this blanket of golden light wraps around you, we call upon liquid gold, like golden paint, and breathing this golden light into your heart space. And with every heartbeat, feeling, seeing, and knowing that this golden light is moving with every heartbeat through your blood flow into every organ, soft tissue, muscles, tendons, bones, and radiates outwards through your skin into your auric field to anchor on the outside of your auric field, connected with the field of oneness, connected with all energies within and around you. And within this space, I want to invite you to take a couple of more gentle breaths within your heart space, bringing self-love, self-care, self-nourishment, and breathing this golden light from your heart space into your soul's essence, your higher self, your connection with spirit, with source energy, and allowing all parts of your multidimensional self to be in center, to anchor within your breath, your heart space, and to rest within the core of your being, so that every breath you take, you're connected with all parts of yourself. And let yourself rest within this space. Let yourself be home within self. And just feeling into your grounding, feeling into your center, and feeling into your multidimensional self. I want to give you a moment here to just be and breathe with your own energy. And I'm looking forward to opening up the conversation in a moment. Hope I didn't make you all too sleepy.
Thank you, Marieke. That was beautiful. And very unique in the sense of going through the elements of gold, silver, copper. I can't recall ever having that guidance in a journey.
Yeah, with the quantum touch, so the quantum touch modality in the advanced supercharging, if you ever get the book of advanced supercharging, it shows you the colors of well-being. Those are frequencies, colors that lie within every cell of our body, like our mitochondria radiates those frequencies, but they're also in our entire auric field. So beyond copper, silver, gold, there will be yellow, emerald green, cyan, marine blue, magenta, and mother of pearl. So there's 12 frequencies. And if we just visualize those every day, we also go more into our right brain. So the overthinking brain, it slows down a little bit. So we actually activate our innate ability to energetically heal, to also to activate our inner alchemist. When we bring things back to colors and frequencies, it's fascinating how our soul actually knows what to do with it.
Interesting. I had not heard of that before. And how did you get into this modality?
Quantum touch came on my path in 2013, 2014, after I knew I had something in my hands and I always wanted to, like, I knew I could do something with it. I just was looking for more guidance, and I had looked into Reiki, but I had not found the right teacher for me at that time. And then I found my beautiful teacher in Montreal, and she was a Reiki master, but she also was able to, or she taught quantum touch. And when I sat down with her, she's like, oh, just do the quantum touch. And I did the training with her because my dog had just tore her ACL.
Okay.
And she had, of course, a lot of pain going through the surgery. And then they said, okay, when you do one surgery within a year, you often have to do the other one as well. And
Okay.
I was kind of like stubborn. I was like, I feel I can work with this. I feel I can maybe prevent that from happening. I was kind of like really determined. So when I did the training, my dog actually recovered a lot faster, the veterinarian said, than other dogs that they have seen going through the same procedures. So quantum touch has been just a beautiful modality that has come on my path in 2014, and it just felt really true to me. Very easy in that way to learn. Yeah. And the colors of well-being, it's just a natural, every child, every animal knows these colors already naturally. As humans, we've almost like separated ourselves a little bit from all the color frequencies, also from ourselves, I find. So it's a way of a pathway back in.
That's fascinating. And it's making me think about my journey years ago. I don't know when it was. I went to a Reiki class. And when it came time to receive the symbols, my body said no. And the teacher didn't really understand why. And I didn't understand why, because it was my first exposure to that kind of energy healing. And it's interesting to me because I've been told that I should be working with my hands and working with energy, and I haven't really found what that is yet. So it's curious that you kind of are sharing that. So yeah, fascinating.
That's really fascinating. And I always, the way that I work is from a place of looking at everyone's individual energy and to see how can you be more in touch with yourself, with your intuition, with your own gifts, your own abilities. And quantum touch is such a beautiful modality that just goes underneath everything. It doesn't put anything upon you. It supports your foundation. Where
Right.
I've found other modalities, there's a lot of like logic thinking and working your way through, or a lot of learning, where quantum touch is purely based on the breath, resonance and entrainment, and heart coherency, heart energy. So we learn
Right.
how to amplify the breath and amplify our energy and then redirect and focus it. So the quantum journey that we had at the beginning is, in a way, it gives you the foundation to then start to run energy through your fingertips, through the palms of your hands. But first, the most important I find is to learn how to release energy out of our own system, so that when we then are ready to work with our own or other people's energy, we actually know how to release energy and not accumulate it all.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
And I think about our listeners and the word quantum. There might be people listening who don't have a relationship with that word. And so what would you want to share about the word quantum?
Quantum. Quantum is such a big word, and it's been used now in many different places. It's becoming kind of like a mainstream popular word. So quantum, for myself personally, I see it as the field of oneness, where all frequencies, vibrations, energies are held within. It's maybe can be seen as all that holds memory of all that has been, is present, as well as the future. I work a lot around the principles of the universe, and where I see the quantum field being also mental, we can influence it. There's correspondence, cause and effect in the quantum field, vibration, polarity, rhythm. So there's so much that we can work with on kind of like a science viewpoint of the quantum field. But then when we go into our intuition, we just know how to work with this field. Yeah, so I don't want to over explain the quantum field. I kind of want to invite everyone to tune into it themselves.
It's great. You and I were talking a little bit about human design before we started, and human design has a quantum element as well. And I always say to people, as much as we're working with your chart outside of you, the human design knowledge is in you as well. And that relates to the quantum and being connected to that information that's available to all of us. So I love the simplicity of your definition or explaining that, because it can get quite heady, and it's not that.
Exactly. I love how you speak to that as well. And we have to simplify everything. And energy, like life and energy, is so complex, but we can really simplify it. Where I always go back down to the foundation of breath, grounding, heart coherency, as we just practiced in the quantum journey, because from that place you can find stillness.
Right.
And within that stillness, you can say it's like I'm tuning into the 0 point field, or into the field of oneness, or into the quantum field. But from a place of stillness, we can send our questions out into the field or into oneself, and receive so much knowledge, so much wisdom.
Right. And during your guided journey, you also mentioned self-care. And I want to come back to that, because when I work with people, especially when I do men's groups, self-care is a foreign concept to many of us. And I would love to hear your perspective on introducing someone to a self-care practice.
Self-care. Self-care is really the foundation of showing up for self. Self-care, kind of split it up a little bit in energy hygiene, as energy hygiene, energy maintenance, and energy protection. And self-care, how do you show up for yourself so that you can kind of cleanse your energy field, so that you can maintain your energy field, but also that is protected. So I always recommend in the morning have at least, I would say 15 minutes would maybe be the minimum, to have a quick moment to tune into oneself and to check, what do you need today? But I actually will take it a little step further and go to the evening before, and already pre-sending your energy, pre-sending your intention, pre-sending your light into the next day, to feel into the flow, and to feel if that flow then aligns with your own self, and if there's anything that needs to be set in place to support yourself better. Maybe that means getting up a half hour earlier and saying, okay, I will do a little bit of breath work, a little bit of fascia stretches, so that I can prepare my physical body for what is coming. Or maybe you need anything else, but your system can tell you all these things, as long as we take time and space to actually tune in. And then at the end of the day, self-care is really, how much energy have I accumulated today? What do I need to set in place so that I can actually release and be supported? Maybe that is a walk in nature, or going to the ocean for a moment, or maybe that's taking a salt bath, or doing some stretches. By really looking at what do you need energetically to set yourself up for success, but also to really meet yourself at what you have just been carrying. Yeah.
You're reminding me, my journey with self-care was literally starting with, I'm just going to show up. We had a sort of a healing space in our house years ago. And my intention was, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to show up in that space every morning. It's the first thing I do. And from that, my self-care practice was born. And it has a lot of variety. It has a lot of flexibility. But ultimately, it's the opposite of what I used to do, which was get out of bed and have the minimal amount of time I needed to get ready, head out the door, buy a coffee on the way to work. And it was just this cycle of continuing to go from work to rest, to work to rest, working too hard, not loving what I was doing. And so this idea of turning that around, I mean, now I think most mornings it's probably at least an hour, hour and a half before I really jump into my day. And it's a luxury, right? Like, not everybody has that time, but if we can make that time, there's so much of a payoff that we can't even quantify, really.
Oh, it's amazing that showing up, and you give such a good point. And for my journey, it's been that way too. It's not easy to show up for ourselves. It's a muscle memory that you have to practice. Where I work a lot with polarity alchemy, where there's mornings where we maybe feel heavy, But if we every day show up for ourselves, and even if we can only take 10 minutes, then take those 10 minutes and just lay on your mat, just breathe with self, or do a couple of gentle stretches, but don't dictate what needs to happen exactly in that time. Because then you just show up every day, and maybe some days you show up different than other days, but you're going to find yourself. And you're going to feel every moment what it is that you need at that moment, but you have to start somewhere and say, I'm just going to show up.
Right.
And then within that showing up, it will evolve. And that's the beauty of it, that evolution.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And I worked in treatment centers for a number of years with alcoholics, addicts, and we would talk a lot about relapse prevention and cravings and things like that. And so often I would talk about these self-care practices because it's not something that you can access when you're triggered. It's something that you have to practice. Meditation is a practice. And the more you meditate, the more you can bring that meditation into your everyday. When you're having a moment of stress, you can take a deep breath, but you can only access that after practicing it for a period of time so that it's there. Otherwise, you won't have access to it.
It's that muscle memory is like the capacity you open up, and we have to let ourselves be in those spaces so often so that that space becomes normal. Because there's such a thing where we energetically gravitate back to what we're used to. And that even if it's not really safe, we're used to it. So it's a false sense of safety or old behaviors. So it's really finding these new patterns. And that's where I work a lot with the inner healer, inner alchemist, because we know on the inside, we often know, but then how can we create that path forward? And that's truly, I feel, by holding what we call our shadow, or feeling, holding what feels dense, holding the parts that we actually do want to push away, and holding those with even more love, and then letting those other pathways form simultaneously. In the quantum field, it's kind of like opening up different pathways, different timelines, and working also with who do you feel you can become in the future, and reverse engineering to what is then being asked of you right now. If you are becoming that person in the future, what kind of things do you have to set in place at this moment so that you are actually creating that pathway to be that?
And I love shadow work because it very much is about tapping into the quantum field and realizing that everything that is happening in our awareness is a reflection, trying to support us, trying to work with us. And if we can embrace that, if we can see that, oh, this thing that I don't like about this person in front of me is the part of me that I've rejected, suppressed, or denied, it's quite magical. It takes a long time to really open up to this. It's so much easier to be pointing our fingers and saying that person is fill in the blank. It's so much harder to realize and accept that, oh, what I'm pointing at is actually myself, which means that I'm the one who has to do the work, not the person in front of me.
Takes a lot of ownership over our own system. To say, I'm going to sort out my own system, and I'm exactly not going to project it outwards, but I'm taking that ownership. I work a lot with the principles of the universe as well. I actually have them always written down on a little paper, and whatever wave or energetic that I'm experiencing, I will kind of look at it. So I started to really realize that even our dreams, when we have a dream, and maybe it's even a fearful dream, but we look at the mirror, we look at the complete opposite of it, and it will give us a different perspective. And then to work with those different perspectives, to really the so above, so below, micro, macro, within, without, to really look at what is all being mirrored to each other, within ourselves, within our dream time. It's really fascinating if we can allow ourselves to go to the depth of, energetically alchemizing our being. But I find automatic writing and writing all these things down is really most important, because our journey is hard to understand unless we take ownership ourselves and start to sort of write things from our depth of our consciousness and write it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think about my past life in terms of working so hard that I already mentioned. And I think about the folks out there that that maybe they're new to this and they're overwhelmed and they're not loving their job and they're having conflict with their coworkers and conflict in their relationships. I know these things you're talking about, but it can be so hard to access some of these practices. And yet, just starting can be such a powerful shift. What would you say to those folks that might be in those situations and happening to listen to this?
Such a great question. And I've been sitting with that a lot because I can speak about it with ease, but the practice of it is a whole other ballgame. I always suggest to go back down to the foundation. And if anyone is curious, feel free to send me an email. I've created what I call a worksheet where we really look at our physical body. What are the needs of our physical body? What are the needs of our emotional, our mental, our spiritual energy field? And how can you find a couple of habits, supporting habits, that sort of hold that entire field? And going back down to the breath. Without the breath, we cannot return back to ourself. Without the breath, it's really hard to alchemize. And without the breath, the brain will keep overthinking, and often we cannot think our way out of it. But we can move enough energy through our physical body so that we can create clarity. And that's really going back down to the breath, the grounding, being connected to the Schumann earth frequency, as well as heart coherency. The HeartMath Institute in California has beautifully researched the power of the heart. So I always go back down to, again, the foundation, breath, grounding, heart coherency, but then seeing, for example, EFT tapping, and how can you tap on the body to release energy, and finding one or two sort of tools that work for you. Can be salt bath, can be walking in nature or putting your hand on a tree if you live in the city. Just these little moments that bring you back to just a centered stillness, and really finding what that is for you. What is your moment where you can take that breath? Yeah.
And you're so right, because it only takes a few minutes. I remember when I worked in Squamish at a wellness center, I would be rushing to work sometimes, and I would just stop, get out of my car for 1 minute, 2 minutes, just stand beside the river, ground myself, get back in my car, and then go into work. And it doesn't take that long. It doesn't have to be half an hour. It doesn't have to be an hour walk. It can just be that moment of connecting with the elements and then moving on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that part too where you know yourself because you have been showing up for yourself, that you know that you are the one that can transform that. I've noticed many times where people come and see me or go and see many other practitioners, or even, let's say, psychics or mediums, where we still give our power away to finding answers outside of ourselves, and just noticing, oh, the breath brings me always back to my center. The breath and connecting with earth in any way that your relationship allows you to.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing with the colors, bring it back to the breath, bring it back to the colors, and just notice like, oh, I've just shifted myself. And doing that over and over again, you really become empowered that you are the one that can change and shift your energy. And then from
Right.
there, just is the momentum just amplifies.
Right. And I think that's the hardest piece that we need to accept on this journey, is that, oh, I'm the one who has to do this. I'm the one who has to reactivate myself and connect to my inner truth and my inner wisdom. And I remember that was really hard to accept that, because I wanted to be, quote unquote, saved in some way. You mentioned automatic writing. Can you explain that to the listeners? What is automatic writing?
Automatic writing, we can also see it as intuitive writing, where we just allow words to come onto a paper. So we take a nice deep breath, and maybe it starts off with writing how your body feels, or maybe you start off with writing how your day, but try to kind of just write simple words down on paper. And then over time, you can maybe bring it down to your heart and to your soul, and see if you can maybe even write from micro to macro. and things start to show themselves, or we can write down our issue, for example, that we want to harmonize or that we want to manifest something into our life. So we can write it out and just allow different parts of the depths of our consciousness to come onto paper without really judging it, or without identifying, or without really fully with our left brain analyzing it. And with time, with practice, it becomes like a beautiful flow of the depth of our consciousness, or even what we can call our higher self. Maybe things that you have acknowledged for yourself come forward. It becomes a place where the depth of your being feels heard and feels acknowledged. And then we can work with that. I love combining automatic writing or intuitive writing with EFT tapping, where we tap on different meridian points of the body to release what we call the fight, flight, freeze responses. And then seeing through the process of automatic writing how your story evolves. I'm working with that.
Hmm. I didn't know what automatic writing was years ago, but when I went through my divorce, I started journaling. And I always noticed that there was like this positivity that was coming through in my journaling that was not necessarily related to the situation I was in. And in hindsight, I recognized that I was automatic writing without knowing that I was doing that. But, and it's kind of like a bit of channeling, right? Like you're channeling your higher
Exactly.
self. Yeah.
Yeah, and I find it's like an undercurrent of a higher light, a higher presence.
Hmm.
When we really truly are tapped into our multidimensional senses, and that's really where part of my specialization in the work that I do, it's about how do we tap into our multidimensional essence, our being, our senses, so that we can listen, hear, know from any direction and can really find that guidance, because there's
Hmm.
always such a high frequency field to hold us and also within us. And it would love to harmonize together. But a lot of us have forgotten or have not been facilitated to really amplify this within our being.
Hmm. You mentioned when we were talking before we got started that there's a specific way that you enjoy working with children. And I
Yeah.
wonder if you could speak to that.
And so it gets me really excited because I work with adults. I actually started working with animals that got me on this path. And then I had the beautiful opportunity to learn how to become an ICU Academy teacher. Nicola Farmer in the UK has developed this program, and it's called ICU, Inspiring Children Universally. And we teach children. I always say it's like I don't teach, I share. And within the sharing, they remember how to activate all their abilities. So we actually work with a blindfold with the children who are comfortable with that. And often within a couple of minutes, they're able to see with their entire energy field. So they can see colors, shapes. Some children can even read through the blindfold. And then we start to play all kinds of games together to develop their intuitive skills, their confidence, their gifts, just all their energetic abilities. It's a really fascinating and incredibly joyful program.
Wow. And so I'm guessing that children are closest to the remembrance of having those gifts or abilities. And so you're just helping them get back to something that is not far off.
Exactly. So well put into words. Exactly. We are just helping them activate, or over saying activate, to bring online what they already had within themselves. And the
Hmm.
children, the program is for children from 6 to 12, 14 years of age. I did teach a young boy of 5 years old even. And once they have this ability activated, their children will naturally have this ability already
Hmm.
activated at birth. So it's a really fascinating for our evolution, for the growth of our consciousness, because we all are able, and we all have been able to work with our multidimensional senses, but because it's not been nurtured when we were younger in our generation and the one before us, therefore now it's coming back. And it's just
Right.
a natural ability that children have. Yeah.
So that's the perfect lead into the next question that I wanted to ask that came up as you were speaking, which is there's lots of teachers and, human design, gene keys. They really mention this idea of the new human. And there's astrologers talking about the new human. There's different practitioners talking about the new human. And I'm really curious about what you would want to say about this evolution and towards the new human, which some people are marking 2027. I know that Richard Rudd in the Gene Keys talks about it being very similar to the metamorphosis that a dragonfly coming into being, like that it's going to be a shift that we can't really understand and it can happen quite quickly. But he also talks about the fact that our children are probably already moving towards this and waking up to abilities and gifts that they otherwise didn't have.
That's beautiful energy to tune into. I've been hearing similar as well between 2027, 2030. What I'm intuitively feeling as well that, let's say, over the next 10, 20 years, also as parents, that the parents are being asked to support the children from a more energetic perspective. We also call this the time where the golden children are coming to the planet. Dolores Cannon is speaking about the waves of the volunteers, the golden child. Within a lot of the communities that I'm connected with, we call this also the return of the innocence of the child, where the undistorted light, the light before confusion, is being able to be embodied again. What I notice within the, let's say, the ICU Academy training, that children become so telepathic so quickly with their parents that the parents are also being asked to prepare energetically and to really work on their own inner growth, their own development in that way of mostly things that they've always known and felt that they've ignored. And so it's the new human, the evolutionary energies that are moving through. It's really asking all of us to step up and into what we already know and to stop overriding our systems with how society has told us to be and to live. It's not that complicated. It's really a return home to oneself, a amplification of our senses, our extraordinary senses, and in a way that we're able to work what I call our toroidal field, our energy field, our auric field, to really feel within from micro to macro. We can influence and we can manifest, we can work with our field. That's when the new human, the evolution really starts to, I feel, come online, so to say. And because the ways that we then work together is in a similar way as how we've manifested this podcast, is we feel an invitation, we reach out, there's a natural flow, there's no resistance, there's just this organic coming together wherefore the field creates itself. And that is what the future too, it's most of our energy is spoken and shared in between the spaces of our words. And when we take a deep breath and we share from our essence and we connect with one another, there's so much more energy transfer to one another than actually the words can carry. So it's that new human is also the invitation to communicate with the deeper layers of energy within ourselves, with each other, but also with what we call the field of oneness, nature. And that's where animal communication, telepathy, it's just a normal human ability that is coming back really quickly.
Wow, I mean, that's a lot to digest and consider. And at the same time, it just makes so much sense as you say it. And it makes me think of like when my adult children were growing up, there was the talk of the indigo children, and you mentioned the golden children coming in. And so, I mean, it does make sense that we're about to have like an evolutionary leap into different ways of being, because the way we're going is not working. It's definitely not working. And I love what you said about the space between the words and approaching things differently, because this podcast has definitely been about I guess it's kind of unusual in the sense that I don't prescript what I'm asking. I really create a lot of space for what needs to happen organically. And I think that's why so many of the conversations are just so unique, which is really great. And so it kind of spoke to all those things. And I imagine some people out there might be a little bit concerned hearing that we're shifting in that way. Because what does that look like? What does that mean practically speaking? Am I still going to have the TV to watch? Like there's all of these practical concerns. And yet those are the things that are really, they don't mean much in the bigger picture of things.
That's a good contemplation and space to look into as well, and looking at what do you really want to, need to move forward with? What is
Mm-hmm.
already ready to fall away? And I feel it will be difficult for the ones who are holding on to things that they already know it's not for them, or maybe some relations or jobs or certain spaces are, I call it expiring. It's a little bit of a strong word, but we do feel when things come to a closure, and when we then
Mm-hmm.
resist it, we don't let it naturally come to a closure. It's going to somehow still manifest, and it's still going to be taken away from us, so to say. So it's also looking at what is ready to be shed, and especially also in the season as we work with the seasons of fall, winter, spring, summer, moving with that naturally, looking what is ready to be let go of, so that you can seed those fresh seeds in springtime and move with what is really being asked to move forward.
Mm-hmm. And what you just said is so relevant because I think we are, as a matter of fact, I did a workshop recently called Aligning with the Seasons. And it really was just born from this feeling of going into fall and winter and being pulled into an energy that doesn't feel natural, getting busier at a time of year when we're meant to be slowing down and going internally and contemplating more and resting and all of those things. And we have that cycle in our monthly cycles as well. And so I love that you mentioned that because it's it's not sustainable to keep going in that way. And we're not meant to. I mean, indigenous cultures know this inherently. They know that you need to prepare for the winter and slow down.
Exactly. And it's actually the slowing down where you come home to yourself. And if in the bigger picture, you actually can do so much more when we really slow down, because
Mm-hmm.
everything is done with intention, with a visualization, with you're manifesting, you're co-creating more. And a lot of us, we live sort of after the fact. We clean up the energies as they are already over accumulating, but I'm really looking, and what is being asked of us, I feel, is to be more proactive about our own energy and to be more co-creative about it, so that we're not
Mm-hmm.
just running after the facts and cleaning up the energies, but that we are sort of ahead of it, riding our wave.
Mm-hmm. I often talk about two sides of a teeter-totter, and the one side is the doing side where we make life happen. And then the other side is the being side, which is about letting life happen. And really, it's not one or the other. We're needing to find the balance of those two and let the being inform the doing instead of trying to push everything, which
Exactly.
is, we're not meant to be in that. We're meant to be in the flow, going with the river instead of trying to swim up it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we're, especially if we're very anchored in our left brain, in our logic thinking, we want to figure out and we want to think our way through things. Then we just start to have, just notice over time when it becomes a little bit more, there's more stagnation, maybe more interference. And then we're really being asked to surrender, to let go. I have a beautiful, I don't know how to call it exactly, but from the stillness comes the sound.
Mm.
From the sound comes the knowing. And from the knowing comes the action. But then from the action comes the knowing, comes the sound, comes the silence, comes the light. So it's the stillness, comes the sound, comes the knowing, comes the action. But then the action deepens the knowing, deepens the sound, deepens the silence, and then the light can actually be born. We have to go inwards and sink into that stillness so that our actions and our knowing and everything is really backed up with our light, with our energy.
It makes so much sense just on the outset. It makes so much sense. And I can imagine that that's also can become a very deep contemplation of noticing every single step along that way.
Exactly. That's why I love the writing things out and then just sitting with it.
Mm-hmm.
And even just writing down breath, grounding, heart coherency, or heart
Mm-hmm.
mind coherency, and just writing those words down and see what does that mean for you. You can journey with that for years, but then take it a step further and write down stillness, 0 point field, oneness, quantum, and see what does it invite you to go into. Or maybe you want to write down the principles of the universe, and there's so much to work with, but it's always from within and
Mm-hmm.
creating those spaces.
And that is the shift from externally focused living to internally first. And I can go on and on about this because I've mentioned it, I think, in several podcasts, but we're so attuned to the outside because that's what we were trying to change in order to feel better. And we think that's where love comes from, but really it comes from within. And so it is a radical journey to turn that around, to turn that orientation point from the external to the internal. And for some people, that might not even feel safe at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been working with that field for myself for quite a while where I didn't feel safe. And I recently had a beautiful experience where suddenly I felt that field of not feeling safe as a false field.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always been safe, but I didn't feel safe. And suddenly I could work with that. But if we don't hold the space to go and journey into those spaces, ready, willing to work with our energies, we're always going to point a finger outwards to that what put the pressure upon us. But
Right.
it's the pressure that creates the diamond. And we have to really, again, take that ownership.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I feel like this is a great place to pause. And I always like to close with the same question. So what is one simple way that someone could connect with the sacred today?
Beautiful question. I feel what is coming through is just a breath of white light. Keep it really simple because you always have your breath with you. Wherever you are, however stressed you are, you have your sacred breath with you. And most of us, we can visualize or we can look at a white sheet of paper and create a breath of white light in us, just to create a little moment of spaciousness.
Beautiful. I love the simple. I appreciate that. And for anyone who wants to stay connected with you and your work, what's the best place for them to do that?
Thank you for asking. I would love to connect with anyone who feels called to even just have a conversation. They can visit my website, consciousquantum.com, or find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube under Self-Care Alchemist.
Excellent. And we'll make sure that those are linked in the show notes down below. Marieke, a beautiful, heartfelt thank you for spending this time together. What a wonderful conversation. Really appreciate being able to get to know you and connect with you and learn more about what you do. And I'm sure that the listeners will feel the same.
Thank you so much, Ross, for this invitation and wonderful time space spent together. Really appreciate it. And I hope that the listeners as well enjoyed all the energies.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us on Sacred Sundays. I hope something in today's offering spoke to your spirit, stirred something true, or simply gave you a moment to breathe. If this conversation resonated, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, or share the podcast. It truly helps this work reach the people who are meant to find it. And if you'd like to explore more of my work or connect with me directly, you can visit rosstayler.com, and that is Taylor with ER.com. Until next time, may your day be slow and sacred.